Over the past week and a half, I've been traveling around Central Europe with only my Fuji X100VI. And given its small size, versatile focal length, and crazy feature set, I consider it to be one of the best travel photography cameras out there if and only if you know how to get most out of it, which can be quite challenging because of the abundance of settings and the constraints of the 35mm fixed lens. So in today's video, I want to show you how I compose on the 35mm lens, what settings I use on the X100 specifically, and how I use some of the X100VI's most unique features for the best travel photos. Finally, I'll also show you some of the accessories that I attach to the X100 for travel specifically. So there is a lot to go through, so I would say without further ado, let's get started. First, let's talk composition. And composition is tough on an X100 because of the 35mm equivalent focal length, which is a wide-angle lens. While on a 50mm or an 85mm it is easy to de facto just crop out distractions, the 35mm has so much more in the frame that distractions are much easier to creep in. This is why I consider composition a subtractive game, where it is about reducing composition to the essence, which for me usually includes two steps. First of all, I ask myself, what is the most interesting thing that actually caught my attention first? Second, I ask myself, how can I build a composition around this focal point? I, for instance, always make sure to add foreground to guide the viewer's attention to the main subject. So I look, for instance, for frames surrounding my subject or for leading lines that guide toward my subject. In addition to the main subject and the foreground elements, I often look for a supporting element that gives additional context to what I saw and experienced when taking the photo. Often I choose people as my supporting subjects, but whatever you choose, just make sure that this supporting subject is not more obvious than your main subject, because otherwise your photo may look cluttered. Also bear in mind that travel photography is not exclusively about layered, complex shots, but make sure to take a series of multiple photos that capture different aspects of your travels. Usually that involves one shot of just the subject, then the layered image for more context, a detailed shot of something close up, a shot of the people who were around you maybe, and also a shot of how you got to the location in the first place, and especially if you later make, let's say, a zine or a documentary out of them, you have more variation in your travel experience. Now let's take a moment to talk settings, and the way I set up my X100 is fairly easy. I shoot in aperture priority, in other words I control aperture and can thus choose how much is in focus and how much light hits the sensor. The other settings, so ISO and shutter speed, I set to automatic. However, for the latter, shutter speed, I customize a minimum shutter speed in the auto ISO settings. Why? Well, to prevent the camera from choosing a shutter speed that is too slow to freeze motion, especially when it gets dark. My default minimum shutter speed is 1/125th of a second because I found it to be a nice balance between light gathering and freezing motion. However, I have two other auto ISO settings, one for long exposures, where I just set the minimum shutter speed to the minimum I can feasibly hand hold, which in the case of the X100 and my hand holding capabilities is 1/4 of a second, to really embrace blur in my photos. Then I have one super quick setting of 1/500th of a second minimum shutter speed for very fast moving subjects like bikes or cars, for instance. Now to flick very quickly from one auto ISO setting to the next, I set the ISO dial to C, which stands for command dial, meaning that now I have transferred ISO control over to the back command dial. And now if you scroll beyond the highest ISO setting, you can see how you can flick through auto ISO A1, A2, A3, the settings that we've just customized. The weakness of my approach, however, is that I occasionally bump the ISO to like ISO 51000, which is not something that usually happens to me, but if it does happen to you, just put your ISO dial back to A, because now it's locked into place, into A position, so it's not going to go anywhere, and customize the rear command dial to display auto ISO settings when you press it down, and now it's harder to accidentally bump the button into the wrong ISO, but it's also less quick to flick between different auto ISO settings. One other important note, also make sure to use exposure compensation, so the dial on the very right, to adjust the exposure when the camera does not get it right in camera. Specifically at night, for instance, I usually underexpose by a stop or two to really make the exposure reflect reality. Next, I'd like to talk about two underrated features of the X100. Honestly, the size of this camera alone could already be considered an underrated feature because it's so small despite fitting in a rather bright and sharp f2 lens. But the actually underrated feature of the X100VI, in my opinion, is first the ND filter and second the leaf shutter. And let's first talk about the ND filter, because if you've ever tried to do long exposures during the day, you may know that even stopping down to f16 won't get your shutter speed slow enough. However, if you have an X100, you can press the custom button that you've assigned the ND filter to. In my case, it is this front button, and not the hinge that it is originally assigned to, because I personally find the hinge to be a bit too slow to operate. Second, once the ND filter is activated, I flick the ISO auto setting to A1, so our long exposure mode. And third, I stop down my aperture until I reach the shutter speed that I want. And now, be it moving cars, waterfalls, or smooth-looking video, like all the clips that you've seen so far, you can now take long exposures with basically only the press of a button. The other underrated feature is the leaf shutter. While it has a couple niche benefits, the one that I appreciate the most for travel is that I can stay super discreet when taking photos. The best example is shooting out of train windows. I travel a lot on trains, and when I bring my X-T5, everyone in the compartment hears the shutter sound. On the X100, however, I can just take photos without bothering anyone or feeling like I'm intrusive because the shutter sound is barely audible. Finally, I'd like to showcase a few travel-specific accessories that I use. First, to make the camera easier to hold for a longer period of time, I have both the small rig hand grip and the small rig thumb rest. Both give an otherwise rather unergonomic camera at least something to hold on to. And if you can get only one without hurting the form factor of your X100, then the thumb rest is the least intrusive and most cost-effective choice. And by the way, all of the accessories that I'm about to mention are linked below. Then I have two accessories that allow me to take photos that I literally otherwise could not, or at least not safely. First of all, and for me absolutely mandatory, is the weather sealing kit. I personally use the one by Hauge, which also comes with a really nice lens hood. And the thing is that you cannot really choose the weather you shoot in when you travel. It's not like you stay in the hotel just because it rains. And while the camera itself is weather sealed, the lens, or the front element, sadly is not, meaning that the weather sealing kit is mandatory if you want to shoot in the rain without risking your camera. Finally, I love using the Viltrox wide-angle converter on the X100. It converts the focal length from a 35mm to a 28mm lens in full-frame equivalent terms, which is really nice for establishing shots when you're new at a location and you just want to capture everything. Second, the converter is basically glued on for landscape photos because I can include more foreground and have more in focus at the same aperture, meaning that I do not have to stop down that far, thus more light hits the sensor, and given I do not have to stop down beyond f11 usually, I do not get into diffraction territory, which can soften the image. And one final reason to bring the WCL is that it is super small and fits into my pocket, meaning that I literally always have it on me because of its small size. And now if you still have other travel photography advice specific to the X100, please drop it down below. And with that being said, thank you so much for sticking till the end, and hopefully see you in the next one. Bye.